Phillips, DrinkinAZ with George Lindblom. Special guest tonight, Ken Morrison. Ken, caught you in a swallow there. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. And packed house tonight. We got people out here for the Hangar 24 tap takeover that's going on. And also we've got our friends here from Grand Canyon Brewing, Alex Phillips. How you doing tonight, Alex?
Doing pretty excellent.
Awesome. And Bryan Young. What do you say, Bryan?
I'm doing great. Having
All
some
right.
nice beer.
All right. So, we got a lot in store tonight. We're going to be talking about, Grand Canyon and everything. But, Ken,
yes.
you are the czar. So, from henceforth, I'll be referring to you as the czar.
Uh-huh.
A lot going on right now in brewing. I mean, we've got a lot of, new brands coming to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
We have a new distributor coming to Arizona, this Caliber.
Yep.
And they're talking about bringing installing a new brewery as part of this whole deal in downtown Phoenix. You heard of that?
That's news to me. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's called Two Brothers, I believe.
Oh,
yeah, I just heard about that. They're out of Chicago, I think.
Yeah.
I think I have heard something about that.
Now, you would have known that had you read the blog, DrinkinAZ.com.
I think that might be where I heard of it, actually, to be honest
awesome.
with you. I think.
Okay. Well, you're quite a bit of a blogger yourself, Czar. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
I have the Beer Czar at .blogspot.com, if anyone wants to look it up. It's to me, it's a fun blog. It's a fun thing. It's kind of a hobby of mine. But I also I'm kind of targeting people in that same demographic, kind of beer hobbyists, people who just people who just want to have fun with beer, not take it real serious, and people who don't want to devote, time at night to taking classes about it. They just want good beer, or
right.
maybe they've had something that they thought was pretty good, and they want to try something new, take the next step. That's kind of the people I kind of direct my content to.
What got you into beer to the point that you wanted to sit down and write about it, slave over a hot typewriter?
It's funny, actually. I was spending a lot of time on Facebook, and I was always posting pictures of all these beers I was drinking, and kind of sharing the information with my friends. And a buddy of mine back home, and I'm from Maine, and got a guy I went to high school with who's also a home brewer. But he told me, you should really, he saw the time I'd spent answering questions and relaying information to my friends, and he said, you should really start a blog. So that was, I think, 2008, I think. So I started it just on a whim, kind of to help out and share information with friends and family. And then 4 years ago, I really decided, or about 3 or 4 years ago, I decided to really kind of start getting involved more in the Arizona community and local stuff, because at that time, local was starting to really kind of take off.
What have you done to be involved? Like, what kind of things have you done?
To me, it's just I try to go to as many events as I can, get to know a lot of the brewers, to sit down and talk with them. And I really like kind of getting to know them, like the guys who I know who are getting started. I remember I sat down with John and Brett from Arizona Wilderness 6 months before they opened, and I remember sitting down. And to me, it's kind of infectious. And I sat down a couple weeks ago with Matt from Beer Research Institute,
right?
And I love kind of following, kind of tagging along, following the path of these guys as they and especially to see what happened with Arizona Wilderness, and see the success they've had.
Number one brewery in the world.
I mean, they're brewing pretty decent, and they make good beer, and it's kind of fun to follow the path of these guys, and not that I'm involved with it, but just kind of to watch it, to kind of be a fly on the wall as this stuff is taking place, and it's a blast.
Absolutely, we're all part of this culture, and I think we all have a sense. Those of us who are smart enough to have a sense about it know that we're in a renaissance right now, and this is just the beginning.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really is.
We're all really excited here at DrinkinAZ about it, because we feel like, this is what it was like in Colorado 10, 20 years ago. And we have nowhere to go but up, and a lot of great things are going to start happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, there's a lot of stuff written lately and some stuff on our blog. And our blog is more of a, honestly, we're recasting stories that are written by other people.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much original stuff. I do have a few original things, but anyway, stories about the bubble, the impending bubble. Dun, dun, dun. the impending bubble in
it's inevitable.
the craft beer industry. So, what are your thoughts on that?
To me, I think it's more of a. I don't look at it. I don't think it's going to be a bubble to me because, like I said, if you're looking at something as a bubble, you're kind of making the assumption it's going to pop.
Right.
And when it pops, and it all kind of goes haywire. To me, I see it maybe leveling out at some point, plateauing. But I mean, there's still so much room for. I mean, Arizona's the population of 4 million people or something. I mean, we've got less 50 something, less than 50 breweries.
About that, yeah.
I mean, that's nothing. I mean, like I said, the state I grew up in Maine, that's a state of just over 1 million people, and they've got 48 breweries, I think, or 45 breweries.
Really?
So yeah, and there's some of the very big ones. Shipyard is in the top 10. I mean, and Allagash is a phenomenal brewery, and there's some really kind of exciting young breweries that are there as well. And I kind of see, I see Maine and I look at Arizona, and there's just so much room. I think there's so much more room. I mean, I just think we have to kind of. I mean, I think that as the industry grows, I think the beer community itself, the population will kind of go along. The more options they have, the more readily available, the more they see it. It's.
When we were talking about shelf space, I've talked to some establishment owners and people like that, and I've gotten varying opinions. One of the things I hear is there's only so much shelf space.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking earlier before we went on about how possibly there may have to be some type of a shift where when you go into a Fry's or what have you, there's going to be an extra cooler just for craft beer.
Yeah.
But the big guys aren't going to go down without a fight.
Yeah.
Alex, you got any opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the bubble goes, I mean, it's important to consider that every truly craft brewery in the entire United States equals 13.6% of all beer sold.
Okay.
And we're effectively cutting into the big guys' profit lines. If we weren't, InBev wouldn't have bought Goose Island.
Right.
And various other things. And you're already starting to see the changes on the shelves. You're already starting to see Safeways bring in local end caps. They're starting to bring in craft-only sections. I've heard tale that Walmart is investing millions of dollars into a craft program in 2014 and 2015. Mm-hmm. Craft beer is
let's see if Walmart screws it up. Because they're like the Borg on Star Trek. They assimilate everything and make it their own.
That is true. And
I just get nervous when you said Walmart, like a chill went down my spine.
But regardless, however Walmart decides to handle it, Walmart might be where craft beer goes to die. You might see, huge InBev or huge Miller Coors brands that are bought up, or even just their own craft brands like Safeway, for instance. They have a craft brand. It's called Double Take. It's made by a contract brewery out of Rochester, New York. And it's not a craft brand because Safeway pays to have it contract brewed because they're obviously trying to compete.
Right.
And when you have Walmart investing millions of dollars, when you have InBev buying out breweries, you're doing something right.
Right.
And I think that's the most important thing. As far as a bubble goes, if there is one, we're so far out from it, I may never see it.
Right. I kind of think that we have a lot of room for growth. We're going to get to, then there's going to be breweries that go under. There's going to be mismanaged breweries and breweries that don't know how to make quality beer, and that's just going to happen, and it's just par for the course, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, that's already been happening before craft beer became a thing in Arizona. You've already seen, people that, it's just like a restaurant, basically. I mean, if you're going to really get to the meat of it, if you mismanage it, if you do it wrong, if you jump the gun, you're going to go under. If you open up a restaurant that puts out poor food and poor service by a guy who worked in an office building his whole life and doesn't know what he's doing, it's going to last 6 months.
Right.
And the same thing goes to the brewery. Beer is built on passion, not money. And I think that is the thing that sets us apart, mainly from big beer.
Right. Good stuff. All right, so we're going to go to break, and we'll come back, and we're going to talk about Grand Canyon Brewing. If you'll hang around with us, we'll be right back at DrinkinAZ.com.
Hey, this is Dunk from the Dunk Tank. Did you know Tops Liquor has over 2,000 wines in stock from all over the world and over 2,000 spirits? There's huge selections of rum, tequila, scotch, vodka, you name it, they got it. And did I mention beer? Over 2,000 varieties of craft beer from Arizona and all over the world. So come next door to the Taste of Tops, where you can always find at least 25 very special beers on tap and hundreds of beers by the bottle. Come on down to Tops and you'll never want to leave. That is, until your wife tells you to come home.
And back with DrinkinAZ, George Lindblom. All right, so guys, we got the gentleman here from Grand Canyon Brewing, and we are drinking their beer right now. What are we drinking here? Alex, can you tell us what we're drinking?
Yeah, so this is our 2014 release of the Shaggy Bock. Now, this is our if you're looking at the calendar year, this is our first release. This is our spring release. It's a Roush it's a Roush style Bock, a Roush beer. So that basically just means smoked beer.
Okay, pretty subdued though. It's not. I'm not getting a full campfire effect.
Yeah, and so what we do to combat that, especially in the bottle, is first of all, we use a ton of Pilsner malt. Our master brewer is very European influenced. He is very much a Pilsner brewer.
Who is your master brewer? Let's give him a shout out.
Oh, Andrew Caracato. He's a brilliant madman, and if it wasn't for him, single-handedly, I don't even know if we'd exist.
Where is he from?
He's from everywhere. You talk to that guy 10 minutes, he'll tell you about how he lived in Japan for 3 years. He used to work at Mud Shark. He was fired from Green Flash. That was the first brewery he's ever fired from. He's an old school brewer from back in the days when no one cared, and that guy's got a story for everything. That's Drew's deal.
Okay,
and he's amazing. When we did the collaboration with Wilderness, every 5 seconds there's a new story and just a new tale. And
okay, so
Andrew's great.
Maybe when we go up for a Made in the Shade or when we head up there, we'll get a chance to talk to him.
Yeah, if we can get together, we'll definitely schedule some of them.
Awesome.
He's insane.
We have Dan Chenier from Mother Road on a few weeks ago, and we're definitely planning a Flagstaff trip. We're going to make the rounds and try and hang out with everybody that we can.
Yeah, Drew might very well be able to make it to that. It's 20 minutes away. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. So back to the Shaggy Bock, and go ahead. I know you're going to get to the flavor bomb eventually, so go ahead.
Yeah, it's like the cherry on top. So the base of the beer, we do tons of Pilsner malt. But the thing about it is we smoke it, and we use the bark from alligator juniper trees. And if you know anything about juniper trees, some are have alligator skin,
right?
And some are real shaggy, almost like a dog. That's where we get the name. We source it locally from naturally felled trees, so we don't cut anything down. We're environmentally conscious like that. We smoke the Pilsner malt. In the fermenter, we use toasted oak to kind of help move along the process. In the bottle itself, as the flavor bomb you were talking about, it's the plastic widget. We house an additional stick of the toasted oak, so over time it helps age the beer. In fact, in preparation, I drank one of these last night that has been aged 18 months.
Yeah? Get a lot of oakiness from it?
There's a lot of wood in that beer.
Yeah.
And given time to merge with and it's not an overwhelming smoke, but given time to merge with it, while the wood is more prevalent, it's, we do low carbonation beer anyways, but there's almost no carbonation. It almost drinks like a wine. It's insane.
So who came up with the flavor bomb?
That is a contention for debate.
Really?
But between the owner, John, and Drew, our master brewer, there's not a lot going on in Williams when you're not brewing beer.
Okay.
And in the wintertime...
Gateway to the Grand Canyon.
In the wintertime, when we're not getting 600 tourists every 3 hours off the train, there's not a lot going on.
Okay.
So they wanted a way to kind of age the beer beyond, to kind of put it out of our own control, which is a bold move.
Risky.
And had I even been part of that original brain trust, I might have even spoke against it. But now that we're in it, it's slightly brilliant. But it came about, and there were some real disastrous results at first. We originally tried hot pellets with the IPA that has the whole hop cones,
Uh-huh.
but they dissolve and the beer gets infected.
Ah.
And then there's a lot of a learning curve. With the coffee bean stout, for instance, we originally did 6 Sumatra coffee beans, but within 6 weeks, the beer was nearly undrinkable.
Really?
It was like a quadruple, double mocha cappuccino shot. It was just the most insane coffee flavor ever.
Wow.
So now we do 2
Uh-huh.
because we've learned that the beer actually strips the caffeine and the coffee flavor entirely from the bean.
Wow.
So there's a huge learning curve, and it takes a process. It takes a village, I guess, as
Right.
they say. And we've just been learning as we go. But I think with the 4 solid Flavor Bomb beer lines that we have, we've done all right.
Yeah, and tell what are the flavor bombs? Run through them real quick if you don't mind.
All right, so we have the hop bomb. We use whole hop Columbus hop cones
Okay.
to dry hop the beer once it's bottled for transit and storage. If you drink this beer within a 3-month time period from when it's bombed, it's incredible. You get that extra hop oil, the extra hop flavor, not just additional hoppiness. The oils, it's like basically teabagging hops into a beer.
Uh-huh.
And then you have the coffee bean stout, which is the Sumatra coffee beans like I talked
Right.
about. Then you have the Shaggy Bock, toasted oak. And then we do a bourbon brown in the winter. And we do bourbon aged or bourbon conditioned oak for that one. We get
Okay.
oak, we bourbon condition it or age it. I guess that's really the same thing. And it's the exact same process as the Shaggy Bock, but instead of just toasted and like charred a little bit, we don't char it, and then we just age it with bourbon. And it's very subtle. It's not prevalent. It's more along for the ride rather than the feature.
And have you gotten the notoriety for this that you deserve, nationwide? Because this is kind of. Is anybody else doing this?
Well, I try to stay away from entitlement in general, but Ash, when Rob Fulmer was still with Ash, he was a huge supporter of it. I gave him maybe 50, 60 of them just for them to use to kind of see what goes along with it.
Uh-huh.
We do own the patent pending on it, so.
So no other brewer in the country is doing the flavor bombs?
They're more than welcome to it. We're not selfish,
Okay.
but no one else has approached us or even asked us about it. And it's not that we're unwilling to share or selfish. I mean, we have to protect our own interests. But
Right.
I would love to see even Dogfish Head or, Firestone Walker or some of these great innovators just bring some ideas to the table with our device. And, we're not looking for, money's not the bottom line. We're just trying to get the innovation out there.
Now you refer to it as a widget. Is it kind of a mesh bag, or what exactly is it?
So it's an elongated plastic FDA certified tube that's got a bunch of holes in it,
Okay.
so the beer can flow in and out of it easily.
I mean, I've had them before, but I've never pulled it out of the bottle to examine it, I guess.
So on the top of it, it has like 2 wings that almost look like bug antennas,
Uh-huh.
so it won't come out of the bottle on you.
Oh, okay.
You have to break the bottle to get it out.
Oh, really?
I can tell you from personal experience.
You've done
I wanted
that?
to see what it looked like.
I
actually broke the top off.
Actually, on our Twitter, we have instructional video on how to remove it with a paperclip.
I didn't bother looking
Oh,
that
yeah?
up, obviously.
Yeah. You can go to theflavorbomb.com or @flavorbomb, and we actually have videos on how to remove it and sterilize it for reuse if you're a home brewer and you buy a couple and you just want to use 1 or 2.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to hoard the experience.
Yeah, I didn't know you could reuse it.
I would seriously love if Doug Odell did a flavor bomb and then just shared with me his experience about it, because that would help us so much, and it would help them, and it would help everybody, because we're the only ones learning the hard way on this.
Uh-huh.
And it's just, I think it's an incredible idea that is just kind of slow to move, but I think that I think it's already been accepted, but I think that once it's established and recognized, I think that we'll see more of it used. Kind of like the session IPA kind of fad that's moving in after the daytime IPA from Lagunitas.
Yeah, everybody thought it was going to be sours that were going to take over the world, and they did get more popular, but I think it seems like session IPA is the thing now.
Overnight, Lagunitas put out daytime IPA, and then the next thing you knew, every West Coast brewery has now have one in bottle. But sours are still prevalent, and I'm hoping to get to that point where we at least can get some attention. Like I said, it's not about the attention. It's not about that. It's about making great beer.
Right.
And I hope to help people do that. I hope to be a part of it. And I think that that's what we're all about.
Yeah, like you said before, I don't know if it was on the air or not, but passion builds breweries or something to that effect.
I said passion builds great breweries, not money.
There you go. Passion, what he said. All right. So we're going to be back from the break here in just a little bit, and we're going to wrap it up with the guys from Grand Canyon and the Beer Czar. This is George with DrinkinAZ.
Hey guys, this is Katie with DrinkinAZ. Home and small batch brewers don't look any further than brew gear. Get your locally produced brewing equipment from Brew Gear, with a full range of kettles, fermenters, and systems from 5 gallons to 7 barrels. Brew Gear sells directly to the customer, allowing you to get the system of your dreams for a fraction of the cost. Brewgear.com.
And we're back with DrinkinAZ, George Lindblom, and the Beer Czar sitting shotgun with me. How you doing, Ken?
I'm doing well, thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
So we were talking before about the flavor bomb and everything going with Grand Canyon, and Bryan Young was telling me about this new beer coming out. Bryan, tell us a little bit about the new seasonal.
Well, this year we're pretty excited in that we have our fourth seasonal. Fourth seasonal for Grand Canyon Brewing. We've had 3 in the past, and now this year we will have 4.
Which season is this?
This is our summer seasonal.
Your summer seasonal? Okay.
Summer seasonal. It will be called Sacred Saguaro Lager. It is a Vienna Lager. Beautiful for the summertime.
Right.
Very exciting for our brewery.
Vienna lagers that's a great style. I mean, really, really subtle and complex all at the same time. I mean,
Good summer style.
it worked for
Perfect summer style.
Boston Brewing, didn't it? Yeah.
Indeed it did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about it, Bryan.
You know what? I'm going to pass this to Alex in that he does know more about this Vienna Lager than I do.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so the Vienna Lager, we actually did like a small pilot batch last year, and I did drink quite a bit of it, and so we sold it in northern Arizona, but it will now, we've landed solid on it, and it's coming in. So what it is it's dark Vienna malt, sapphire hops. It's got an amber-looking body, but it drinks smooth, refreshing lager. With the exception of our pumpkin fall seasonal, we do try to typically steer away from the same seasonals as everyone else. Doing a super light lager in the middle of the summer is just going to make us compete with everyone else, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah,
we want to stand out.
Yeah, with the Sun Brews of the world.
Yeah.
Not that that's a lager, but still. Yeah.
Sun Brews won awards, and it's a great beer, and there's no denying that. But in the same time, in the summertime, having a beer that's still just packed full of flavor and still super light is what our aim was. And we tried a bunch of things. We even tried a ginger beer, which we may go back to.
Uh-huh.
But for right now and moving forward, we're going to continue to do the Vienna to the style.
Now, going to a lager, you needed more capacity, but I understand you guys expanded just recently too, right?
Well,
so that made it able for you to do the lager?
Well, there's kind of an in-between situation there. So we're building a production facility, much like Santan just did.
Uh-huh.
And but in the meantime, to keep up, we increased capacity I think 38% by installing 3 60-barrel fermenters, outside fermenters. So they stand right outside the brewery. They look majestic as can be. And we use them to ferment our biggest sellers, our Pilsner, our Amber, and now our IPA.
And are these glycol regulated?
They are, only because Williams, much like Phoenix, does have a temperature extreme, but rather than the heat, it's the extreme cold.
Right. That's what I was wondering about the outside fermenters.
Yeah, so, the outside fermenters, it's not an uncommon practice, especially with a smaller space before you get into a multi-million-dollar facility. But Drew, again, like I said, he's the Mad Hatter, man. He used to build race cars, and he used to do everything. And so he installed those bad boys like it wasn't anything. And I think he actually built the glycol system manifolds in his garage, from what I understand. Yeah.
So in the wintertime, then you'll pump warm glycol through them?
Now, when it comes to that kind of thing, that's outside my realm. If you
I would imagine. I mean, but it's basic physics. It would have to be, right? Because if it drops down below freezing every night, you'd have to have something.
Yeah, there
warm
has to be
going
some
through,
sort of
right?
insulation and warm moving. I mean, I don't get into too much of that technical stuff with Drew because that is the one facet or one of many facets that he is just far beyond me on.
I won't put you on the record on that, but I'll say that they got to be pumping something warmer than the ambient temperature through that thing.
Or just put a big sweater on it.
Yeah,
it gets negative, so there's definitely got to be
more
something.
of a Navajo blanket.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Indigenous.
So, Ken, what do you think about Arizona beer and where Arizona beer is headed? What have you seen here in the last year that's really excited you?
I mean, just like I said, I've been doing this blog over the last 4 years. Just in the 4 years I've been doing it, I think just in the last 12 months has been very exciting. I think. I mean, just seeing the growth and I mean, every now and then I'll open up Facebook and I'll read something about a brew pub opening up in the West Valley and I've never even heard of, and I'm like, and we're opening next week, and I'm like, it's hard to keep up, and that's a good problem to have, I think.
Yeah, and the food community is stepping up, and the beer community, and it's all rising tide raises all boats.
Absolutely, and I think it's being so much easier to find good, even local, just good local beer everywhere. My family and my daughter's favorite restaurant is Red Robin, and we were there the other night.
My kids love that place.
We were there the other night, and I look at their tap list, and I was able to get Sex Panther at Red Robin.
Really?
And, yeah. And I'm like, well, it was just right after Mr. Pineapple came out, and I'm like, I asked him, I saw the Santan seasonal, so I'm like, I said, I'll have a Mr. Pineapple. Like, oh, sorry, it's just Sex Panther, and I'm like,
just Sex Panther.
Sex Panther. Like, I'm at Red Robin drinking Sex Panther. I mean, 5 years ago that never would have happened.
Right.
It would have been Bud Light, Coors Light, maybe Sam Adams or Sierra Nevada, if I was lucky. But I mean, now so it's definitely, like I said, it's getting much easier to find good beer almost everywhere. At least something that that you would find that you wouldn't have found 5 years ago.
Right.
It's everywhere.
And this thing has really taken off, even to the point to where we're starting to export as a country. We're starting to export our innovations and ideas to the rest of the world. And it used to be just a couple years ago that everybody saw Europe as the flag bearer for beer.
Yeah.
But now it's become America, and America craft beer and American ingenuity.
Absolutely.
So fucking A, man. The same country that brought you the Camaro and rock and roll and
air travel,
craft beer, and air conditioning, and let's not even go there. So in closing here, Alex, Bryan, do you guys got anything that you want to tell us about the future of Grand Canyon and where you guys are headed, and what can we expect in the coming months and years?
As far as it comes from Grand Canyon, with our production facility being finished outside of our original time constraints, we will have more opportunity to small batch, to innovate a little. It becomes a difficult game when you're having to concentrate on your core brands all the time. But now that we'll have the space to brew, basically...
What's your barrel capacity going to be when it's all said and done?
I'm not sure on the exact number, but I do know that we'll be able to brew as much beer as we do in a week in one day.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Once we're finished. And that will leave so much time open to use our current 15 barrel to put out, experimental, one-offs. And, I want to look into branching off into a secondary branding, such as Woodcut from Odell, Lips of Faith from New Belgium, things like that, where you can go away from your current branding and kind of step out of your comfort zone, and you're not upsetting your core following.
Get a little edgier with it.
Yeah, and you don't rock the boat with your core following, which I think is the most important thing. So I mean, there's that to look forward to. As far as my current 5-year plan goes, there's a few other state maneuvers in mind. I'm currently in the prospect of doing what could be, in my own ridiculous opinion, the greatest collaboration in the state that this state will ever see. And, that may or may not be hubris, but I think it'll happen.
Are you going to name names at this point or no?
Not at this point. I'm still playing it close to the cuff.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that it happens either this year or next year, and it just comes down to growing pains, and just everything else. But those would be the two things to look forward to: is us getting a little more experimental, and putting out things that you're not used to seeing from us, and kind of getting weird.
Right.
And then also just us branching out. Like Southern California's been begging for us. New Mexico's been hitting it up hard. And then, we'll just see where it goes from there and try to do a collaboration that'll just make all collaborations seem
Nice.
faint.
Something edgy.
Something real dangerous.
Really
You guys
dangerous.
are in Vegas already, right?
We distribute
That's
into
right, yeah.
Nevada.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. And we've got a few like Nimbuses in Manhattan, in New York City.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just throw a shout out to my homeboy Matt at Sleepy Dog. They're currently in SoCal,
Nice.
and I don't think that they get enough attention for that.
Sure.
But that's a huge ordeal. I mean, I know Santan moved out there, and Santan's a juggernaut, and they're big. But Sleepy Dog moving out into SoCal,
Yeah.
that's some big pop.
Yeah, kudos for sure. And we've been talking about doing something with Sleepy Dog as far as going over there and doing a show. I know Duncan's in contact with them all the time. So Sleepy Dog, yeah, getting the nod from Duncan. So hopefully we'll do a little collaboration of our own sometime. All right, guys, we're about to wrap this up. Anything in closing that you want to say?
The giant Uber collaboration that is already overhyped at this exact moment, but also there's mad respect to anyone out there who's brewing local, who's drinking local, who's making sure that we keep the money in Arizona for Arizona, because in the end that's what it's about. When you go out and you spend money in your community, it goes back.
Right.
If you look at Central Phoenix, if you look at downtown Chandler, spending money in your community makes a huge difference, and I don't think enough people know that.
Awesome.
And so just
Well said.
big out to that.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for coming out. Great to have you, Alex. Bryan, thank you for coming. Got any closing words for us, Bryan?
Nope, doing great. Drink local.
Drink local, right? All right. So for the Beer Czar, this is George Lindblom with DrinkinAZ. We'll catch you next time. Have a great time.